Welcome, and thanks for listening to Cherry Bekaert's Not-for-Profit podcast series. In each episode, we hear from the best in the business on the latest challenges, trends, and opportunities affecting not-for-profit organizations and educational institutions. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cherry Bekaert's Nonprofit Finance Podcast Series. I'm Jason Sturdevant, Senior Manager in Cherry Bekaert's CFO Advisory Practice, working with nonprofit finance teams, and we help them clean up and strengthen their accounting systems so they can focus more on their strategic goals. So with me today is Blakeley.
And I'm Blakeley Richard, a manager also working in CFO Advisory with nonprofits. We both come from audit backgrounds and I spend a lot of time helping nonprofits get their finance operations in shape. Plus, we've worked with organizations across the nonprofit field, from museums, universities, foundations, and other social service agencies. So we've seen a lot of ways things can go wrong and how to make it right.
Thanks, Blakeley. So today we're diving into a topic that comes up constantly in our work: how to get finance teams and fundraising teams on the same page. It's one of those relationships that can either be a huge asset or a source of ongoing tension. And Blakeley, you know this, when it's not working, it doesn't just affect internal operations, it can impact donor relationships, reporting accuracy, and strategic decision making.
Right. And it's not that either team is doing something wrong, usually. It's that they're often working towards the same goals, but just speaking the different languages.
I couldn't have said it better. Fundraisers are typically focused on things like relationships, on bringing in cash, on impact, whereas finance and accounting teams tend to be focused on things like controls, compliance, reporting, sustainability. Both are really essential functions for any organization, but when they're not aligned, you can get issues like budget surprises, cash flow mismatches, donor restrictions being misunderstood, and I could go on, and I know you could rattle off problems this creates too.
And the stakes are high. If finance doesn't have the visibility into fundraising plans, they can't forecast cash flows accurately. If fundraising doesn't understand accounting rules, they might overpromise to donors or fail to provide accurate reports to them. It's not just a communication issue either. It is a strategic one.
Agreed.
Now, this can all sound very abstract. Jason, I remember you telling me about some issues you saw firsthand at a not-for-profit that did natural disaster recovery. How did that misalignment show up, and what problems did that create for this organization?
Right, now this was a real case of the left hand not knowing what the right hand was doing. The fundraising team was doing fantastic work, securing matching grants, getting in-kind donations, large corporate gifts, many multi-year pledges. But this fundraising team, the development, didn't understand the nuances of nonprofit revenue recognition.
Yikes, that sounds like a tough one.
It was. So they were recording things like conditional gifts as revenue before the conditions were met. They were treating in-kind donations inconsistently. They were also doing the same with in-kind services. They didn't really flag donor restrictions clearly. And so finance ended up having to go back and review every agreement, reclassify some revenue, and clean up the books. And this delayed internal reporting, it delayed external reporting, led to a bunch of audit adjustments. It was just a real headache. And what's more, all this time that they were spending trying to clean up the accounting, that meant that they were pulling resources from focusing on raising more funds, on getting ready for the next disaster recovery effort. And this even went to having to get the CEO on a call several times to play referee between the two teams, to answer questions about certain transactions and gifts. And this just wasn't the best use of the CEO's time.
Yeah, and that kind of cleanup isn't just tedious or time consuming, it's very risky. It can affect your audit opinion, your credibility with funders, and your ability to make timely decisions.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, like this wasn't malicious. It was a lack of shared understanding by the two teams not taking the time on the front end to make sure everyone was rowing in the same direction. This meant that they ended up rowing in circles for a lot longer than they needed to. And I know I'm not the only one who's seen some of the challenges in the field with this kind of problem. What's an example, Blakeley, you've seen of development and finance struggling to work together?
I was working with a foundation where fundraising had a great relationship with donors, but there was no documentation for critical info. Things like restrictions on gifts, spending policies for endowed funds, timing of their pledge payments. It was all in emails or verbal conversations. It got so bad that finance needed to take over responsibility for updating the donor database. But rather than solve the issue, it left them frustrated and often without critical information.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like finance was just flying blind. They wouldn't be able to pull their cash flows, they wouldn't be able to track restricted net assets accurately, and ultimately they wouldn't be able to meet donor reporting requirements. That just sounds like a missed opportunity, not just for compliance, but for strategic donor engagement.
Yeah, even worse, it created mistrust between the two teams. Eventually, finance stopped responding timely to questions from development, and records began breaking down even further until someone asked for help from our team to help them clean things up and get finance and development on some joint calls and to begin rehabilitating their relationship and workflow.
Yeah, so speaking of, what does good alignment look like? I mean, for me, it starts with shared planning. Finance and fundraising need to be in the same room together during budget season, not just handing off numbers as gifts come in.
Yeah, and not just once a year. Monthly check-ins are key. Fundraising should update finance on pipeline activity, what's likely to close, what's uncertain, what's restricted, and finance should share burn rate, cash flow projections, and any red flags. If there's a database team involved, which not all organizations have it, but if there is an in-between team, they should also be involved in those conversations when translating data between development and finance. They need to be centrally involved in all conversations.
Yeah, I also love when organizations build joint dashboards. And to your point, database teams are critical there. And this isn't just building financial statements in these dashboards, but providing visuals that can show things like revenue progress, grant timelines, spending against program goals. And it really helps both teams, finance and fundraising, to see the same picture and critically ask better questions.
And it builds trust. When fundraising sees that finance isn't just there to say no, but to help with the plan and steward resources, the relationship shifts. Finance becomes a strategic partner, not a gatekeeper. Gatekeeper.
There is a lot to be said for starting with building that kind of trust. A lot of problems work their way more quickly to solutions once teams know they can count on each other. So, what can nonprofits do? Well, there's a few options that we have seen. One is as simple as creating a shared glossary. Like, seriously, terms like pledge, restricted, available balance, right? They mean different things to different teams. So agreeing on definitions can prevent a lot of confusion.
Yeah. Second, build a donor agreement checklist. Every time a gift comes in, finance and fundraising should review it together. What are the restrictions? What's the payment schedule? Is it conditional? What reporting is required?
That's a great point. I'll add to that. Another thing they can do is to integrate their systems. So if a nonprofit's CRM and accounting software don't talk to each other, you're going to have data silos. Even a simple shared spreadsheet can help bridge the gap if funds aren't available to invest in a robust database. Additionally, if that money is available, with a little extra investment and help from experts, there are several tools out there that can help bridge these silos to make the data flow timely and accurately from the fundraising team to the finance team.
Yeah. And finally, invest in training. Fundraisers don't need to be accountants, but they should understand the basic revenue recognition and donor restrictions. Likewise, finance folks should understand the donor life cycle and fundraising strategy so they can understand what to request and in a language that makes sense to their fundraising colleagues.
That's exactly right. You know, all too often, when the relationship between finance and fundraising breaks down, nonprofits can need help from outside sources. And that's where our team in Bekaert CFO Advisory can help. Really, we have seen it all. You know, for a recent organization, they didn't really know where to start to chart a course forward for things like as simple as processing gifts. So what we ended up doing was we did extensive interviews across teams and converted those findings into a matrix to help address all the concerns that various stakeholders were raising. Then we put our recommendations into a formal presentation and capped it off by providing the organization with a standard operating procedure for new gifts. And this helped provide structure and consistency moving forward. A huge help to this team, to this organization, both their finance and fundraising teams. Blakeley, how else have we helped in situations like this?
So something that I think about is something as simple as just having a little training. Like it could be a 1, 2, 3 hour trainings over a course of a week, month, once a year, twice a year. And in that training, we just go over those definitions like we talked about in the glossary. What are gifts? what are pledges, what are restrictions, what are conditions, make sure that that we're all on the same page. And in these trainings, we can also allow for development to talk about their processes, so then the accounting can also learn from the training as well. And then lastly, we're going to be creating those SOPs and those glossaries for those teams. So once we have those meetings and those trainings, we'll prepare an SOP based on that, and we can use a glossary that can be part of that SOP or separate. And then something that we're doing for one of our clients is just attending reoccurring meetings that they already have set up between development and finance, and be there as that third party to just hear both sides and flag any miscommunications or misalignments down.
So I think what I hear you saying is that organizations don't have to solve this problem on their own. There's help available to help work through these, and using experience that we've developed from other organizations who have solved these exact same problems to do that. So to kind of wrap up here, alignment between finance and fundraising, that's not just a nice thing to have. It's essential for sustainability, credibility, and impact.
Start with shared planning, regular communication, and mutual respect. You'll see this can save time and resources with regular investment and collaboration.
Exactly. So if your nonprofit is looking to improve alignment, here's a few practical steps. 1, set up monthly cross-team meetings with a shared agenda. 2, create a donor agreement checklist, review it together at least annually. 3, use shared tools like dashboards or grant tracking spreadsheets. And 4th, invest in cross-training. Just a few hours can make a huge difference.
And if you want to go even deeper, check out resources from National Council of Nonprofits, the Chronicle of Philanthropy, Nonprofit Quarterly. They've got great case studies, templates, and articles in finance and fundraising collaboration. And of course, if you have questions about how to help your development and finance teams get on the same page, or need help untangling any messes from them not being in line, our team at Cherry Bekaert is ready to assist you.
So for more information, head over to cbh.com and search NFP Advisory, or reach out to our team through links in the episode notes. So after all this very serious talk of fundraising and finance, a dad joke. So Blakeley, I have a confession. I only know 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. Well, that'll wrap up today with Blakeley's Grown. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to our next one. Don't forget to subscribe.